the same schema. I mean, we were supposed to look at the same schema single table replication. Let us start with that first. Okay, I think you guys will be able to see my screen now. Right. So let me start off the VMs. We have ggprod and we also have the dev1. And we also need this architecture. Okay, we'll use it. Let me open a paint. Okay, so this will take a little time. Let us discuss few things that we have learned in the last session. It's just like I'll reiterate those things because we were half done with this document, but still we'll start from the scratch. Now, to learn the replication, if you go online, there are a lot of tutorials out there, but the problem is like there is no continuity or a proper flow of learning replication. Some people start with initial load. It's hard to understand how initial load works. Some people start off with very complex parameter files which are hard to understand. Some people start off with very complex architecture of Golden Gate, which again demotivates students to understand how Golden Gate works. What we are going to do is we are trying to simplify the replication first, and then from very simple steps we will get into the most complex configurations of Oracle Golden Gate. So the simplest replication that we are trying to do is we have two different databases. One is ProdDB, another one is DevDB, right? These are the two databases that we have. And on both the databases, we have same schema name. Schema name is same. And table name is also exactly same. The structure is same. For this very simple table, we are going to perform the replication. Very simple replication, no changes, no data filter, no transformation, no structural changes. It is just like Control C and Control V. Okay. On ProdDB, we have one table, and on DevDB, we have another table. So we will perform the replication for these two tables. What we have done in the last session was we had created a new user called as Fox. If you remember, for our Golden Gate replication, we have a separate user known as OGG, right? So how the configuration looks like, if you look at the diagram, it is something like this. So we have OGG user, which will be used for replicating fox.tab1. And this OGG user will actually replicate it from source to the target database. The schema name is same, the table name is same, and the structure is also same, right? So what we have done is we created this Fox user, and the password is also Fox. We have granted the basic permissions to this Fox user, okay? And then we created this table called as tab1. Let me first connect to our machines and validate all these steps, whether we really have this table or user or not. 192.168.0.181. Okay. And then this is 182. Let us connect to the database, and we will start the database first. So this is ProdDB, scale plus /SS DBA. Startup. We'll switch to Oracle user on the second machine. Env grep aura. Scale plus /SS DBA. The machines seem to be a little slow today. I don't know why. Let us do a startup. Okay, we can see that prod is up and running. So select username from db_users, where username like I can directly give equal to Fox. Okay, we have this user already created. Let me connect to this user and then select star from tab. Okay, so we had already created the table 1 in the source. Okay, let us see whether we have some data inside this one. Select star from tab 1. I don't think we inserted anything over there. Okay, over here I'll try to connect fox/fox. Select star from tab. So select star from tab 1. Okay, so we have the tables created in both the databases and there is no data inserted because we are trying to set up replication for the first time where there is no data. Okay, now understand, if tab 1 in the source contains data already before you set up the replication, now that comes under a different kind of configuration that is known as initial load, and then you set up the replication. So for that we have a separate activity. Now we are not looking at that activity. We are starting from scratch. Okay. So next we need to connect to the golden gate, and we can see that we have already added the tran data. What is this tran data? We want to add supplemental logging for this particular table. So when you when you want to replicate a table, you need to enable table level supplemental logging from golden gate, not really from the database. If you actually ask me, this command nothing but again turns into your SQL plus command that actually enables the supplemental logging onto the table. Now you can see logging of supplemental redo data enabled for this table. Okay, so this adds some extra data about the transactions that are written into the redo log files. What is the benefit? One example which I gave you guys, if you do not enable the supplemental logging, the problem is like it will not record or it will not write the key column details. Now in that case, if in case in now in that situation, let us assume you are trying to update one single row. On the target side, all the rows will be updated because key column details are not available in the redo log files. So when you enable the supplemental logging, even the key column details are logged into redo. So that way your update commands go as it is how you enter onto the source side. The same thing works with the delete command. Okay, so let me first log into the source golden gate. You can see on prod.db. Let us go to golden gate location. I'll exit. Let me start ggSCI. Now the first thing that I told you guys, whenever you enter into ggSCI, there are few commands that will work without even you log into the database. But I recommend that every time you connect to ggSCI, always first log into the database. So db login, user ID OGG, password OGG. Right. So once you logged into the database, now you can play around with the golden gate commands, because few commands only work when you are logged into the database via the golden gate prompt. Now the very first command that we have learned was info all. The output of this command will list all the processes and their status. We can see that we have manager process configured, and we also see that we have an extract process which is configured. Okay, we'll look into all those processes once again. Okay, so as per our architecture, we had already configured the manager process. The job of manager process is to hold the port number on which your golden gate replication will work. I think the port number is 7809. I think so. That's the one. And on the same port, our manager process is running. Now, how to view the parameters? So you can do edit param mgr, edit param and the process name. So this will open up the parameter file of the respective process into the VI editor. So we can see that the manager is running on 7809. That's the default port. Okay. Now, if you don't want to get into the VI editor, you can also type view param mgr. So this will directly list the parameters on the prompt itself, right? So our manager is configured, right? Let us proceed further. Now we have tran data for fox.tab1. We had already enabled it. Let me try to execute this command once again and see what happens. It will tell us that it is already enabled. Can you see? Data is already enabled for this table because we have already enabled the supplemental logging for this table, right? In our last session. Now, the first thing that we are going to do is manager is configured. Our source database is running fine. We need to configure the extract. As per our last session, we have learned that every process will have three things to be defined. Okay, except the manager and the collector, every process will have three things you must define. First one is the source. That means from where the process will read and where the process will dump the data. Also the parameter file. Correct? So these are the three things that you need to specify for every process. So first one is source and second one is output, or I can actually call it as input, output and parameter file. So these are the three things that we need to define. Now as per the architecture, we have to set up each and every process one by one. We'll start with the extract process because manager is now configured on both the servers. Remember, we have configured the manager, but manager is not yet running. You can see info all, manager status is stopped, right? Let us check the manager status onto the dev system. I'm going to this golden gate home, ggSCI, db login, user ID OGG, password OGG. Okay, now info all. We can see that manager is configured, but it is stopped. Let us check the parameters, view param mgr. So manager is configured to run on port number 7809 on the target system also. Perfect, manager is fine. Our goal is to create the extract process. Now in the extract, we need to define the source. First of all, we need to add the extract process, add extract ext1. This is the name of the extract process. And this part actually defines whether it is integrated capture or classic capture. If you just use the word integrated, it becomes integrated capture. If you don't use integrated, it will be a normal classic capture. Okay, and then begin now. That means we want that this extract to be ready to be used right away. Now in our case, we have already added this extract process to the golden gate. We can see that extract, it is stopped ext1. Okay, so extract process is already added over here. Now next we need to register the extract with the database. Okay, so this thing or this step only needed an integrated capture. So this step you need to execute only when you are into the integrated capture mode. You don't need to register a classic capture because it reads from your redo logs or archive logs. Now in this case, you are moving or you are trying to read the data directly from the LCRs, logical count records, right? I think so, yeah. So LCRs are the ones that will actually read the data from your redo log, directly redo log buffer, and pass it on to the extract process. Okay, so this one step only needed in integrated capture, not really into the classic capture. So we have already registered the extract process with the database. If we try to execute this one, we will get the details. Can you see the extract txt1 is already registered with the database? Perfect. I think till this step we were done. So now what we have done, we have the extract process. We have registered the extract process with our source database. So one, that is input, is already defined. Okay. Now we need to define the output. Output means where this extract process will put the trail files. Okay. So this command add ext trail will add the local trail file into the Golden Gate directory. So what is the location? If you look at this one, it is Golden Gate home dir dat. That is the default directory where we keep the local trail files. You can define any other directory also, but it is just recommended to have it over there, right? So you must keep all your trail files over there. Now, in some configuration, let's take there are a lot of trail files that are getting generated. Then you can probably choose a different location which is mounted on a different mount point. It happens in case you have space constraints, but this is a general configuration. So we are adding ext trail. That means we want extract trail file. So the trail file that will be created out of this extract process that we have created above. This is the trail file location, and the trail file name will start with ex. Okay, that is the suffix, or actually, yeah, that is the prefix. Actually, we are using ex, and then there will be 00001, 00002. Those numbers will be coming. We'll navigate the the local trails later on once our replication is working fine. And then we are telling to assign this extract trail file to ext1. Now, if you look at the configuration, earlier we defined the input. Now we are defining the output. That means we have defined the source trail and also attached the source trail to the extract process, right? So two things are defined. Now the third thing that we need to define is create parameter file for the extract process. We have also created this parameter file earlier. Let us look at the parameter file. Info all edit param ext1. Okay, so we have this parameter file. Whenever you look at a parameter file, okay, people might shuffle or kind of use different parameters in different lines, but you must be able to debug the parameter file. So the format that I follow is, the first one is the name of the process, like what is this process, is it an extract or replicate process, and then the name of the process. So first line in all our configurations that we are going to do further also would be always dedicated to the name of the process. Okay, the second line that we have user ID and password, that is the Golden Gate user ID and password that we need to specify over here, so that whenever this extract is running, it can authenticate with the database. Okay, so first line is the process details. The second line is the Oracle Golden Gate database admin user. Okay, so very simple. The third line over here, we need to specify within the parameter file as to what is our output trail file location. This is mandatory. You must specify it over here. And then the final one is the table or the details of the tables that you want to replicate. In this case, we want that fox.tab1 to be replicated, right? So very simple parameter file. This is the simplest parameter file that we have. There are a lot of parameters. We'll talk about them later. Okay, so first line parameter, the process detail. Second line database login, database Golden Gate admin user details. Third one is the output trail file location. Fourth one is which table we want the data to be extracted. Perfect.
Hi, Arun.
Yeah, hi.
Does Golden Gate has its own database? How it is?
No, how come Golden Gate will have its own database? I mean, why the doubt?
It is connected to the primary database, right?
Yeah, it is connected to ProdDB. Yeah. Okay. Now next, I think in the last session we were done till this point. Now we need to define the data pump process. Till now we are done with the managers, we are done with the extract process. Now for the data pump process, once again, the three things will come into picture. First, we need to define the input. That means we need to define the details of the source trail from where the pump process will read. We need to define the output. That means we need to define the target trails. Yes, you might be confused over here, like it should be the job of the collector. No. The collector is the process that will read from, the incoming data and then writes into the target trail. But we need to define the target trail details directly into the data pump. Okay, so when the data pump is giving data to the collector, it also tells the collector where to write those data. Okay, so we need to define three things again for data pump. Input is source trail, output is target trail details, and then the parameter file for the pump. Perfect. So this is what we are going to do right now. Now create Golden Gate data pump process. The command is same, add extract. So you might say, why are we adding extract? Why are we not adding the pump process? Data pump extract is also a type of extract. Okay, once again I repeat, data pump is also a type of extract process. So normal extract process job is to read from the database, write to the source trail. But this is a special type of extract process which will read from the source trail and push it onto the target server. So that's why many people, when you go through online videos or when you read some content, rather than pump, they will, I'm talking about some, not all, some of them will use extract. The name they will use as extract. They will not call it as pump. So don't get confused. If you look at this command, we are trying to add a secondary extract. So data pump is also known as secondary extract process. So add extract, we are giving a naming convention DP1 because it will be easy for us to understand that it is a data pump process. Okay, data pump process 1. Now ext trail source. Remember what is the input we need to define? So we need to give the same trail file, name and location, the one to which the ext1 is writing. So in the last step, we have defined the output of this extract process, right? This is the ex file, which is under dir dat. Now this file becomes source for our data pump. Correct? Now, if you look at this diagram, first the source trail is the output of the extract process. Now, this source trail is becoming input for the data pump process. So we need to define the same location details, or we need to attach this file as the source for the data pump extract. So let us add our data pump extract process. Remember, this all you need to do onto the source system. Okay, so add extract dp1 and the source trail file location, it is the same location as our extract process is writing to. This is done. Now the second thing that we need to define is the output, where data pump will put the data. So we need to create a remote trail file for extract process. Now can you see the command is very simple, add remote trail. It is rmt trail, nothing but it is remote trail file. Now we need to give the location as per the remote server, not as per the local server. Many people get confused over here. This is the detail or the location on the remote server because it is on the target server, right? This is the target trail file. Now, in our case, our Golden Gate home and other locations are same. So for us, the location, this is same. But in case if it is different, then like you have different Golden Gate homes, then you need to give the remote server location, not your current or the source server location. So I am defining a remote trail file. It should be created on the target server in this Golden Gate dir dat, and then the file name or the remote trail file name should start with RT. nothing but remote trail. It will be easy for us to comprehend the files, right? And then I am attaching this remote trail file to the data pump 1 process. So let us do this, or let us add the remote trail file to the data pump process. So earlier we created the DP1, we gave the source. Now I am attaching the remote file details to the DP1 process, correct? So source is defined, target is defined. Now we need to define the parameter file for the data pump process. So let us first look at the parameters and then I'll proceed. So parameters are simple. The first one would be the details of the process. It is an extract and the name of the extract is DP1. Very simple, clear. Next one is the Golden Gate admin user ID and password. Clear. Now over here we need to define something new. We need to give the details of the remote host, because this data pump is going to send data to a target server, right? So our remote host details must be mentioned in this data pump process. Now you might say that why do we need this information? Why can't we ignore the remote host details? Now understand, what if we have 4 or 5 target servers? Then what if you want to pump the data to 4 servers? It happens, right? So source is one, but you want to send the data to 4 different servers. So that's why each data pump process must have the details of its own target where it is sending the data. So now in our case, ggdev is our target server, that is our remote host, and then we need to specify the manager port, on which port the manager is running, so that it can send the data on that port. Perfect. After these two details are done, these 3 details are done, we need to specify the remote trail, nothing but the same remote trail file or the output file where the collector will write the data. So earlier, if you remember, I told you guys we are not going to set up the collector, it is just automatic. But the details of the target trail we need to specify in the data pump process. So we need to define the remote trail file, the same remote trail that we recently attached to the data pump process. And finally, we need to define the table data for which this pump process will read the data from source trail and push it onto the target. Now in this case, we have only one table, fox.tab1. So we are putting only those details over here. Okay, very simple parameter file for the pump. Let us create the parameter file for the pump process. So info all. Now can you see we have the DP1 process that has been added. So if you look at over here, it is also an extract, but it is called as a secondary extract. So edit param DP1. Over here, what I will do is I will copy this content and put it over here. First one is extract DP1. Okay, let me save this one first. So view param DP1. So the extract is DP1, user ID is OGG, password OGG, RMT host is ggdev, manager port is running on 7809. The remote trail file location is this one. Again, this location is onto the remote host, not onto your local host. And the table details, for which table we are performing the replication. Right. So what we have done till now, we have defined all the 3 things for our data pump process. Collector, we are not going to work. I mean, you don't need to configure anything for the collector. It is auto start, but we do need to configure the replicat. For the replicat, remember this is all on the target server, correct? Target server. Till now we have done all the configuration on the source. On target server, we need to define the source or the input for the replicat, that is our target trail files, and then output, that means where to replicate the data, and also we need to define the parameter file. Perfect. But in Replicate, you will have one step less. I will show you guys how it works. Now create Golden Gate replicate onto the target. This is onto the target server, not onto the source server. On the target also, you need to log into the database first. From the Golden Gate. Okay, we are already logged in. This is the ggdev server db login, and we are logged into the devdb, right? You can see it over here, ogg@devdb. Let us do info all. We can see that only manager is configured. We don't see any other process that is configured. So we need to add the replicate. Add replicate rep1, that is the name we are defining. Then again, this is also integrated replicate that we are configuring, not the classic one. So when you're using Oracle, as I mentioned earlier, always go with integrated. Classic is kind of like outdated. But yes, there are situations where people do have to turn to classic. Now, we won't talk about all those things. So add replicate rep1, integrated ext trail. So now what is the source for this replicate? So this is nothing but your target trail file. So the remote trail file in which you defined in the data pump, that becomes the source for this replicate, right? So let us add this replicate over here onto the target server. This is onto the target server, not onto the source. Can you see replicate added? Now let us do info all. We can see that we have the manager and we also have rep1, which is added onto this server. Perfect. Okay. When you add the replicate, in this case, you don't need to define actually the output, because as per the parameter file, automatically it will replicate data to the target server. So in the replicate, we don't define the output. We only define the source and we define the parameter file. As per the parameter file, automatically data is returned to the target database. So one step is less in the replicate process. We need to create the parameter file for replicate. Let us edit the parameter rep1. Now let us understand these parameters once again. What all parameters we have in replicate. Once again, the first one goes with the details of the process, that is replicate process, and the name of the process is rep1. The second line goes with the database, Golden Gate admin, login ID and password. The third one, assume target defs. Okay. This is something you have to use. Now we have a separate session as to why you should use. For now, just understand if the structure of the table is same, then you will use this one. Okay, we have a separate session for this one, when we will be discussing about a lot of Golden Gate parameters. For simplicity's sake, right now, if your source and target table structures are same, you must use assume target defs. Okay, if you look at the type of replication we are doing, the structure is same. There is no change in the table structure. Right? Table name is same, schema is same, structure is same, but databases are different. So in this case, we need to define, or we need to add this one parameter called as assume target definitions. Nothing but the target table structure or the definition of the table is same as the source table definition. We are telling Golden Gate to assume it and perform the replication. And the last one is we are performing a mapping. Mapping from source. Source, we are extracting fox.tab1. On the target, we want to replicate, or we want the transactions from fox.tab1 to be pushed onto fox.tab1. It's like a mapping that we are doing it over here. Okay, very simple parameter file. Let us add these details to the replicate process. So on the target, I have the replicate parameter file open. First one is the process details, second one login details, third one is we are saying to assume that the definitions are same, fourth one we are mapping the tables. Okay, so let us save this, view param rep1. Okay, so these are the details in the replicate parameter. Perfect. Right. After this, now we need to start all the processes. Okay, we need to start the manager, we need to start the extract, we need to start the pump process. On the target, we need to start the manager and replicate onto the target. So these are the processes. Guys, one more thing. Yes, there is an order to start the processes. For now, we are just going with whatever order we want, but we have a session for it to understand how you should start the processes. Okay. So first I am onto the source server, info all. You can see on the source we have manager, extract and pump process, correct? So manager is stopped. Let me start the manager process. Start mgr. Now again info all. Can you see manager is running? After manager is started, start the extract process. Okay. Start ext1. Now type info all. Now you can see it is still starting. That doesn't mean that it has been started. So to execute the previous command, you can use this exclamation mark and hit enter. You must see it as running. Okay. In the starting state, it might encounter an error, and from starting, it might go into abandoned state also. So when you see it is running, that means it is fine. So try to query it 2-3 times just to make sure it is showing as running. Now you start the data pump process. Start dp1. So info all. Now can you see it says abandoned? This is one problem. Okay, we will be resolving this problem, don't worry. So likewise, we need to resolve many problems that will be coming. Don't worry, I'll come back to this one. On the target, let us start. So info, okay, start mgr, info all. On the target, we have started the manager, it is running fine. And let us start the replicate. Start rep1. Okay, so it is still starting and we can see that it is running fine. Now let us debug the issue with the dp1. What is the issue? If you look at the document, I have put this command for you guys. Okay, check all the processes in case of any error. In case you see some kind of error like the one we are having, our dp1 process is abandoned. So there is some issue with the dp1 process. You can type this command view report dp1. It will kind of get the report or nothing but the log for the dp1 as to what exactly is the problem. But before I open this report, I would like to cross verify everything as per the document as to what might have gone wrong. Okay. So info all, it is abandoned. Perfect. Fine. Now let us view the parameters for dp1 and check what is the issue. So view param dp1. Now in this case, we have remote host ggdev manager port 7809. Okay, remote trail is fine. And then we have table fox.tab1. Okay, for the sake of testing, let me ping ggdev just to see whether it is working fine. Okay, it's working fine, right? So now let us get inside ggsci, db login, user id ogg. Perfect. Now info all. At this stage, we check the parameter file, everything looked fine. So what we will do is we will view the report, view report dp1. Now you can see this is kind of like the log of that process. Now if you go to the end of the file, it will tell you the details. Now can you see TCP IP error, connection refused, endpoint? Okay. Now I will tell you why this has happened. Can anybody guess? I think people who have worked on Golden Gate, they might guess. I'll tell you the reason. If you look at our starting process, okay, can you see we started the DP1 when the manager on the target was not at all started. Because see, our data pump process has the details of the remote manager process and the port number, correct? But we did not start the manager onto the target server. So that's why data pump process got dead. Now that our manager process is running onto the target, can you see manager is running? Let us try to restart. Let us try to start the DP1 again. Okay, so info all. Now can you see it is running? Perfect. So manager should be up and running in order for your data pump to communicate onto the target server. Let me make this change. Okay, I'll edit this one in the document. Perfect. So guys, what all we have done till now? We have configured the extract, we have configured the manager, managers are running, extract is running, data pump is running, collector will run automatically whenever data pump is sending the data, the replicate is running. Okay, source database is running, target database is running. So what we have to do? We have to test our replication. That means if we insert, this is our fox.tab1 table, right? If we insert data into this one, we must see the data onto the target table as well. Perfect. That is what we are going to test right now. So on both the putty sessions, I will log out from the Golden Gate prompt. Finally, let us check info all once again. So everything is running fine. Let me exit SQL plus slash SSDBA and onto the target system also. Let me exit SQL plus slash SSDBA. Perfect.
Hey Arun, Nikhil here.
Yeah, Nikhil, tell me.
We created both extract as well as data pump process with the same command, add extract. So how Golden Gate used to differentiate between the two? Is it with the help of parameter files?
No, is it with, it is with the help of the source. In the extract, the source is the database. In data pump, the source is the source trail, and also you have remote host details. Did you see remote host details in the extract process? No, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Although you have told us not to consider a case where data pump is not present, but if in case if data pump process is not at all present, so how we are going to define the details for the remote trail file?
It will never happen. You can learn it.
Okay.
There is a way, but nobody is going to use such configuration in real time. Trust me. Have you seen any production database running in no archive log mode?
No, not at all.
Correct. So there is an option, but nobody uses it. Simple as that. Okay,
fine. Thanks.
So yeah, no problem. Now let us test the replication. Now we have set up the replication. Our Golden Gate processes are ready to read the data, ready to pump the data, and there is a replicate which is ready to insert or update or delete the data. Now note, always make sure extract, pump, and replicate are running before your testing. The status of your processes must be running. It should not be abandoned or any other process or any other status. Okay, let us test the replication. We will try to insert some rows into the source table. So on prod_db, we have some insert commands. Don't worry, don't invest time in reconstructing these insert commands. You don't have to waste time over there. Invest in replication. Okay, so that's why I have the insert commands in the document as well. You just copy paste and just move on. Don't try to rewrite them again from scratch. So let us connect to Fox. Okay, so select star from tab. We have one table. So select star from tab 1. No rows selected. Okay, let us insert some data. I have inserted 2 rows into this table. Select star from tab 1. Perfect. But this data will not be replicated until you commit it. Remember, only committed data is replicated. That's why I have separately specified commit over here. until you commit, you won't see this data reflected onto the target system. So let us commit this onto the source. Okay. So once again, select star from tab 1. Perfect. We see that data has been committed onto the source. Now on the target system, let us connect to Fox. Select star from tab. We have table 1 which is already created, and for table 1 only we have set up the replication, right? Select star from tab 1. Now can you see? Data has been replicated. Perfect. Now on the source I have inserted 2 records, and 2 records have been inserted onto the target system. Now let us try to insert 2 more records. I have again further 2 more records in the document itself. Just copy paste onto the source. On the source I am inserting these new rows. I will commit the transaction. Now select star from tab 1. Can you see on the source I have 4 records. On the target, I'm just querying the same table. Okay. Now guys, it will take some time because we are onto the virtual environment. You might say, what Arun, you were saying real-time replication, but it is taking time. Yes, on virtual environment, it will take time because we have allocated bare minimum RAM. We have allocated bare minimum hardware configuration. So Golden Gate will underperform. Okay. Now, can you see after like 4 or 5 seconds or some time, you will see the data will be replicated. Okay. So we can see that when I insert the data onto the source, the data is automatically inserted onto the target. Guys, one new thing you guys noticed, I don't know if anybody noticed, we nowhere configured the listeners. There is no point of listener in this kind of replication. There is no database listener configured at all. We did not configure any listener. Our database is up and running. Our Golden Gate processes are up and running. Our target database is up and running. There is no listener configured, but still I have the data movement. So this Golden Gate is not dependent on your database networking. It is dependent on your server networking. Perfect. Now let us try to delete one row from the source. Okay. So delete from tab 1 where C1 is equal to 4. Okay, let me commit the transaction. So select star from tab 1. There are 3 rows on the source. On the target, let us query the table and see the last row must be deleted from the table. Can you see? It is now deleted. Okay, so now our source and let us try to update one row. So update tab 1. Okay, update table tab 1. Am I right? Update. Set C2 equal to test where C1 is equal to 3. Update tab 1 set C2 equal to test. Okay, now let us commit. Select star from tab 1. Now the third row is updated from gamma to test. On the target, let us see if it is updated. It will take little time for us. Okay, can you see? From gamma, it is updated to test. So that means our inserts, updates, deletes, replication is working perfectly fine, right? So this was the agenda of this document. Very simple. This is the simplest replication that we have seen. Schema is same, table is same, structure is same, only the databases are different. We have set up bare minimum parameters in our replication to set up the replication. So how do you stop the replication? You can stop the extract, stop the data pump, and then stop the replicate process. Okay, so guys, you have anything to talk? I know from long it's only I'm delivering the speech. So if you have anything, open for all, let me know. Okay, so Hitesh, can you elaborate your doubt? I mean, I'm not able to understand this one. One doubt, target trail we should param, we should define in ggprod or ggdev. See, it depends. Like if it is data pump, you need to define it onto the source server. If it is replicate, you need to define onto the target server. Guys, to be very frank, if you do it 2-3 times, then only you will understand the things. It's I mean, the doubts that I'm getting right now, I can understand those are because of little bit of confusion. Once you do the practical, you will understand. Just I would say this same practical, you do it only 2 times, all your doubts will be cleared.
Arun, one thing, lab practice 4 was not uploaded, right?
Yeah, that's the same
we didn't
document.
do that.
The same document which I am doing. This one, right?
No, this is 5, right? Practice 5. What about the practice 4? I think we didn't do that.
No, practice 4 is 100% uploaded. That is the Golden Gate installation.
Yeah, probably I didn't saw that. Okay.
It's there, yeah. I mean, this one I did not upload wantedly because we did not complete it, right? Last time we had done till half. So many were requesting, but I didn't want to give it because some guys would be ahead of others. So now that we all are on same page, you can use this one. I mean, once I upload, then you can try this replication. So try this one.
I think
practice
4 was not uploaded. Can you please check? It's not uploaded.
Okay, I'll make a note of it. I'll check and update. Fine. So I will check that one once I'm done with the session. So guys, any doubt with the simple schema replication? Anything you have apart from this? All looks fine. So quickly, let us look at another replication. Okay. So the other replication.
One doubt.
Yeah, tell me.
Arun, one doubt. Here you shown us just the replication of one table. Let's say we are doing the replication of thousands of tables. So do we have to update each and every table in these parameter files?
You'll understand that. As I mentioned, we have different levels of replication. This is very basic. So we have a separate session where we'll be dealing with the data filtration. That time you'll understand how to work for hundreds of tables. Okay, don't worry. Okay.
Aaron?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, this is Suman. Actually, I'm trying to set up the virtual machines. Actually, my default gateway is 192.168.1.1. I'm trying to change the IP address on the default gateway.
Okay, Suman, sorry to cut you. A lot of people are having problems with the VM. So after the session, like we have half an hour, let us use this one for Golden Gate. After we are done with the session, we'll talk about it. Okay, let's not use the session time for those things. Okay.
Hi, Arun, it's Nasir.
Yeah, Nasir.
You mentioned that we have to enable supplement logging. So I have so many tables. Then how do I check which table supplement login is enabled?
Good one. Generally, what happens is you define it on a table level or schema level. Those are the two things, right? So if you're doing it with schema level, then it will be dot star. And if it is table level, then you will be like schema dot table name. That is how you do it. So I think in this one, I mean, you'll understand with time. Don't worry. There are a lot of things in Golden Gate. I don't want to I don't want to make it complex right now. We have one more question. Nasir, you were asking me to make you the presenter, right? Hi Arun, in real time, what are the standard naming conventions for extract, data pump and replicate process? Yes, there is a naming convention for all the processes. You don't name it the way we are doing it. This is all kid stuff that we are doing. So we have, again guys, I'm sorry to use this line again and again. You will learn with time. We have all the separate sessions for this one. There is a separate session where we'll be discussing the standard naming conventions of the processes. You should not use ext1, dp1 or rep1. These are only for your test purpose. Don't use this in real time. You have a naming convention with the location, the database name, and the whether it is prod dev, UAT, the environment, and then you use E for extract, R for replicate. So there is a proper naming convention for it. Guys, first of all, I apologize to all of you. There are a lot of times where I will say that you will understand, maybe because some doubts you are asking me too early, which will be eventually answered. So that's why those questions which will be automatically answered, I won't invest time in that. So you told us that you have ML. Okay, right. A lot of questions. Supplemental log for only DDL replication or for both? Okay, so in the other world, I mean DML replication, let's not get into it. Again, we have DML replication separate session where you have to enable the supplemental logging. Don't worry. You have to enable in both. Yeah. Okay, a lot of queries, but don't